On April 9, 1835, in Belgium's capital city of Brussels, King Leopold II of Belgium was born. King Leopold I and Queen Louise Marie of Belgium had him as their second child. Leopold II had a classical education that included studies of literature, history, and geography. He was also a multilingual speaker who spoke English, French, and Dutch with ease. Leopold II pursued a variety of interests and pastimes throughout his life because he wasn't anticipated to succeed to the throne as the king's second son. But the future king's older brother, Prince Philippe, Count of Flanders, gave up his claim to the throne in order to wed Marie Henriette of Austria, whom the Belgian authorities did not deem a good match for him. After his father passed away on December 10, 1865, Leopold II was thus declared the heir apparent and assumed the throne of Belgium. One of the longest reigning monarchs in Belgian history, he controlled the country from 1865 until his death in 1909. Leopold II could explore the creation of a colony for his nation now that he was king. His intention was to establish an absolute control that he could then use to seize important resources. Let's first have an understanding of what the Congo was like before it was forcibly given to King Leopold II to conquer without the consent of the Congolese. With the second largest rainforest in the world, Congo was a sizable region. The people who resided there had come from Nigeria in the 7th or 8th century CE and had been there for hundreds of years. As a result of the centralized administration, the nation was known as the Congo Kingdom. The name of the kingdom was given because its founders were Kikongo-speaking individuals. The majority of the populace worked as farmers, traders, and fishers. Along with the leaders, poets, and artists enjoyed great respect. Early alliances, marriages, and collaborations helped the Congo Kingdom increase its territory. The Congo Kingdom was visited by Portuguese explorers in 1482. Many Congolese royal dynasties became Christians as a result of Portugal and the Congo Kingdom's alliance. Following their pact with the Portuguese, the Congolese started fighting other African tribes. They captured a large number of their own countrymen and sold them as slaves to their new allies. As many of us already acknowledge, the Europeans came to Africa to loot the resources and destroy the African traditional religion, and they did this with the excuse of civilizing Africans. Expectedly, the Portuguese along with other European countries like Britain, Netherlands, and Dutch enslaved dozens of Congolese people. European maps of Central Africa were labeled unexplored in the middle of the 1800s. It was one of the few regions left on the wide continent that had not been colonized by a European colonial force. In 1874, Henry Stanley led a journey that was funded by New York and London newspapers and departed to Central of Africa. He arrived near the source of the Congo River after battling local tribes and internal mutinies among his own men. The Congo was then traversed for 1,000 miles until a 200-mile section of rapids was encountered. At last he reached the Atlantic Ocean in 1877. The King of Belgium at the time, Leopold II, enthusiastically followed news of Stanley's trips in Africa. He did this because he wanted to establish a colony in Belgium, which was one of the weaker states in Europe and had only recently gained independence from the Netherlands. He had little authority at home since he was a constitutional monarch. He yet desired to control a prosperous colonial empire. Stanley had to be personally invited to Belgium by Leopold, who then convinced him to go back to the Congo by acting as his personal representative. Under the pretense of doing scientific research and fighting slavery, Leopold gave Stanley the order to covertly gain exclusive control over the lucrative Congo ivory trade. To accomplish this, Stanley had to persuade the local clan heads to ratify treaties ceding Leopold ownership of their lands and the labor of their people. In 5 years, Stanley negotiated more than 450 treaties with Congo leaders. They had no idea what they were agreeing to when they exchanged the cheap products Stanley had given them for the cloth, trinkets, wine, and other items. In the meantime, regional bases were being established by European nations like France and Portugal. Leopold demanded that an international summit be held to discuss the future of Africa after realizing that he was unable to establish total and unchallenged power over the Congo. The colonial status of Central Africa was decided at a meeting held in Berlin, Germany, in 1884–1885. The United States and the European countries decided to give Leopold control over the Congo River basin. Leopold required the native people to trade only with his state agents or with his concessions, private companies that paid him 50% of their profits. The natives hunted elephants for their ivory tusks and gathered sap from wild rubber vines growing in the rainforest. Failure to meet one's rubber quota was punishable by death, proven by delivering the dead man's right hand. Congo-Brazzaville was part of Belgium from 1885 to 1960, when King Leopold II ruled the Congo Free State as a personal fiefdom. According to some estimates, killings, famine, and disease caused the deaths of up to 10 million Congolese during just the first 23 years of Belgium's rule. One of the most ignored atrocities committed against Africans by a European nation is the genocide in the Congo. Although historians and experts have started to look into this issue, many details are still unknown. The Congo was a nation with a lot of promise and abundant resources when Leopold colonized it. Copper, gold, and diamonds are examples of resources that require a lot of time and money to produce a profit for the colonizers. He consequently decided that ivory and rubber would be the primary products. Although incredibly profitable, these products proved to be too tough for the locals to obtain. Leopold II had to use ruthless force to force people to work hard for no personal gain. To establish his dominion on the local populace, King Leopold hired the Force Publique, an army made up of European and Congolese men. But who were the Force Publique? The Force Publique was a military force that was established by King Leopold II of Belgium in the Congo Free State in the late 19th century. It was made up of both European officers and African soldiers, who were often recruited through force or coercion. Most of the African soldiers were taken from their families and communities against their will. The force was responsible for atrocities, including the killing and mutilation of Congolese people. Leopold II utilized Christianity as a tool to enslave the Congolese people even before the use of force by armed men was used. During the scramble for Africa, Leopold made it known that his intentions were to eliminate human slavery, construct infrastructure, and civilize the Congolese people. This is a section of the letter that I screen captured. He instructed the missionaries in the Congo in a letter to use Christianity as a cover for robbing the country of its resources. Leopold II fought and destroyed the Arabs in Congo who were mostly engaged in human slavery, but he did this so he could have the locals as his own slaves. The world believed he was working to abolish slavery, but that was only a ruse. Additionally, the structures he constructed were solely for the use of European citizens and officials. Even the 1 million inhabitants of the vast country were unable to meet the demand for ivory and rubber from the Western market. In the woodlands, a long way from the residences, rubber plants were grown. To gather the milk from the trees, the people were compelled to travel there each day. Only elephant hunting, which is considerably more difficult, may yield ivory. The Congolese soon found it impossible to gather the materials in the quantity required by their new ruler. The Force Republic started using terrorism to boost output very soon. The Force Publique would commit horrible crimes against the Congolese in order to force them to reach the output target because the locals were unable to obtain the large amounts of ivory and rubber. As we just discovered, the majority of the members of the force were Africans, and they murdered their African brothers and sisters in order to win the favor of their European superiors. At the direction of their European owners, the Force Publique would amputate hands, lower limbs, or heads of laborers who failed to meet their quota. There were rumors that the dismembered body parts were consumed, just like during the 1996 cannibal war in Liberia. Hundreds were brutally flogged while villages were set on fire. Many people died from overwork, while others passed away from smallpox, and Leopold constructed hospitals, but his European officials were the only ones to use them. Since they experienced sexual abuse every day, the ladies were not exempt. one of the early 20th century's human rights organizations. This commission gathered witness statements that were written down. 20 of the 370 testimonials from colonial authorities, missionaries, and indigenous people were provided by women, including 3 from the wives of missionaries. Their words expose the covert crimes committed by government agents, especially the use of both sexual and non-sexual fear to demonstrate colonial dominance. Women were employed as pawns, and their release required payment of a debt. When the panel spoke with 2 women by the names of Jima and Bonionoto, they said that they had been removed from their homes and made over to serve as mistresses to white men and guards. Another victim, Mingo, described how the guards forced her to wear a costume while injecting clay into her private areas as she was constructing bricks. King Leopold II brought 267 Congolese to Belgium in 1897 and displayed them to the public, including kids, as zoo animals. Few of them perished as soon as they arrived in Belgium to serve as human zoo animals. Every Belgian who came out to witness the black people who were being shown like zoo animals caused a stampede. Leopold II allegedly took them to Belgium to demonstrate how he had civilized them. Before his brutal death in 1909, Leopold II had never set foot in the Congo. The crowds heckled his funeral procession as a protest against his heinous actions there. Despite widespread condemnation for the murders of more than 10,000 Congolese, Belgium continued to colonize the region, worsening the exploitation of the region's natural riches such as gold, ivory, and rubber, while also seeing an increase in the number of rape cases. The most active supporters of Congo's independence in 1958 were a group of Congolese led by Cyril Adoula, Joseph Leo, and Patrice Lumumba. In 1960, Congo won its independence from Belgium. I appreciate you sticking with me until the very end. I trust you gained a lot of knowledge. To stay up to date on all my content, please subscribe to my channel by hitting